Look, y'all, before we hit the intro, I think Tanner got something to say. Okay. He got something to say before we get too deep into this WrestleMania 41 review. I think Tanner needs the big screen because he got something to say to y'all. Okay. I'm just gonna let it. I'm just gonna defer.
Tanner Cross.
Most of you all think I'm going to go off on the main event of night 2. That doesn't really bother me too bad. Most of you, I know that's very controversial. Let me talk to you about Logan Paul versus AJ Styles. The fact that Logan Paul was presented in a way that he can defeat probably one of the greatest wrestlers of our generation right now, he was able to defeat him, and that AJ Styles looked like a chump in doing so. You know, go check out the video of Karrion Kross interview with Sean Ross Sapp, his company, because he has it right. I will quote what I said at the end of this match. The fact that a YouTube star came in, yes, he is able to do some wrestling stuff. That's cool. However, the fact that a YouTube star, and a heated one at that, one of the most disliked YouTube stars, was able to come in and defeat the phenomenal AJ Styles is so unrealistic in WWE. And I've seen The Undertaker perform magic in the ring. I have seen Kane produce flames from the stage, from the ring. That is still more believable than Logan Paul defeating AJ Styles. I will defend Triple H's booking till the day I die because I do believe he has some great booking decisions. However, this one I can never forgive. You have got to be kidding me, Triple H. Freaking Logan Paul over AJ Styles? If you needed a heel win, give it to somebody else. If you needed one just to fill it out to make sure no other baby faces are getting more time than the heels, choose something else. Not that one. That one definitely goes beyond the realm of my suspension of disbelief when it comes to the matches, because I know it's the WWE. Anything can happen. No, that is bullshit. Do better.
I feel like he might be upset.
He might be just a little upset, but I tell y'all what, there is no better way to start this show than just like that. I'm just saying.
I do have to point out Vince McMahon is also a Royal Rumble winner.
That is true. That is,
and Kevin Federline did beat John Cena.
Hey, David Arquette is a former WCW champion.
Listen, bro, Ready to Rumble was coming out. We had to put him over.
DJ, hit that intro.
You know who made it.
All right, y'all, what's going on? We back once again. We got a review for y'all this time, okay? We're review for y'all this time with WrestleMania 41. Tanner just gave his thoughts. If you missed it, you got to go back. You got to go back. All right, you got to go back if you missed it, okay? In the intro, my man Tanner, he said he sounded off. He sounded off, okay? But look, welcome into the Instant Classic Wrestling Podcast, the only podcast that is always, I mean always, Tanner means always, CaseE means always, and tonight Adam means always an instant classic, okay? And we talking WrestleMania 41. But I got a question for the panel out here. Should we go ahead and start with what Tanner just said and just give our response to that while we're hot off the presses? Okay.
Could you repeat everything you just said again?
I forgot what I said 2 words ago. Okay.
I don't think I can.
Word for word.
word for word.
I couldn't even give word for word what I said in the middle of that match during the actual pay-per-view.
We need a re promo.
Yeah, do a re-promo on that.
We
Boss.
lost the recording. We got to redo it.
No, I have pretty much expelled my hate during that intro.
I think for me, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't mad about it. Now, I always come into it, especially with Logan Paul, understanding that there's a possibility that he could win the match. I mean, he beat WWE Hall of Famer, which is a true statement, but I'm saying like in the context of it, and Rey Mysterio, right? Like current superstar to be the U.S. champion, right? So I'm trying to go down Tanner's believability arc here, and it makes me wonder. You know, it makes me wonder because is it believable? Realistically, though, is it believable that this could happen? And you haven't beat a Hall of Famer previously to win the U.S. title, and then he's taken everybody else to the limit. We're talking Roman Reigns during his best run. You know, he's taking guys to the limit. So it almost makes sense that he would win, that he could possibly win this match. I'm not saying that they made the right decision by having him win this match. I think the realm of possibility could happen as they kind of built him up. I mean, we can't forget our guy Pat McAfee took Adam Cole, baby, to the limit. Okay, he did. He didn't win the match, but he took him to the limit. So, but
Difference.
in terms of that match, while we're on it, it was still one of those matches where I thought, you know, I think it was as expected. It was good. I love the I liked Logan Paul's entrance. I think we all kind of hinted at the whole like Tyler Breeze aspect of it. And it was like kind of the maturation of you know, continued maturation of what Tyler Breeze was doing. You know, and it's funny, every time we see that type of that selfie vloggy type of entrance, I think we always go back to Tyler Breeze because of course Austin Theory, he did it too. So that was another part of it. But I mean, I thought the match was good. I know a lot of people have felt like it wasn't as good as they thought it was going to be, considering the two guys that were in it. But I mean, I found myself enjoying it for the most part. What did you I guess we got Tanner's thoughts, but CaseE, what did you think about this?
I'm not gonna say it was a bad match. I just kind of didn't care to an extent, just because I will never take away someone's athleticism, right? If you're athletic, awesome. And Logan Paul is incredibly athletic. I don't think any of us can deny that. I think any of us wishes we were half as athletic as either of these guys. But at the same time, sir, I understand. I get you're upset, but he lost. Anyway. No, and my thing used to be, and I'm not so much anymore, is I always hated when, you know, athletes from other sports would just come in and automatically get like a contract with WWE, and it wouldn't be guys who worked their way up through the independents, through all these other promotions, like an AJ Styles, like a Finn Balor, like all these guys. Not so much like that anymore, because they really do earn their spots, those guys. Not saying Logan Paul, I'm saying the other athletes from other avenues of sports. But
Jake Paul, you know. So
we don't speak of Jake Paul. But I mean, I just I didn't really care too much about it. It was one of those matches, you know, and I've always been a fan of AJ Styles. There's certain things that I don't agree with him personally, but I've always been an AJ Styles fan. and I would still love to see him on WrestleMania, just not in a match with Logan Paul. I I don't know. Adam?
No, I'm kind of in that same boat too. But ultimately, I was sports entertained, but it was also, it did seem to be very like, two athletic guys. Let's get them on the car. There was no real juice to it. But I mean, as a match, I mean, I definitely dug it.
I
But
I think
as soon as this was made, I'm like, there's no way that they're not putting Logan over.
yeah. Well, I think I was gonna say my other thought about this too is I think and shout out to Tanner's emotion in this match. I think this is what continues to make wrestling fun, even though the rib, right? Is being
I
able
did.
to
That was
be
the high spot of the match.
right.
Was my reaction.
Yes, he got so close into the camera, like, I don't think y'all understand how how PO'd I am. I'm like, do tell, sir, do tell.
I
but
just
I
got a
think
promo live after that. I was just like, look.
but I think like that's the good part of it. Like that's a part of what wrestling is supposed to do is to invoke
Yep.
emotion, even if it's go away heat sometimes, right? Like it's supposed to do that. We're supposed to still watch it as if we're watching our favorite movie or sport or whatever it is, and still get those emotions. And I think the other part about it
DJ,
is
DJ, you're not supposed to get go home heat, go away heat. You're not supposed. That's not the heat you want ever.
well,
No,
that's
you
true.
don't want Xbox
Okay,
seat, which is
sorry,
what
not
Logan Paul
Xbox
has for
heat,
me.
but
Well, no, what you need is a drone.
but
Anywho's,
but I still feel like I don't know. This is my wrestling opinion. Feel free to disagree with me. I'm sure y'all will, but I
I
think
disagree.
I knew you would. I feel like it is good for you not to be happy about the entire show. Does that make sense? Can I say that?
no, that's
Because
fair.
Nope.
I feel like if you're happy about the entire show, it's probably too predictable to begin with. And if you're not happy, or there at least aren't some pleasant surprises, I think kind of like we talked about with Dom winning early in that night too. Like it's like whoa, like I didn't expect that. Jay winning the Royal Rumble, I didn't expect that, but it was a good surprise. It was a pleasant surprise.
There's a
It's not
difference
always
between a pleasant surprise and just being absolutely gobsmacked.
I was gonna say, and then that.
There's a difference.
that's true. I'll give you that.
Yeah, because I will still say it was a good match, but what are they smoking?
I'll get.
I don't know. Let's
Do
ask
you
Mac Riddle.
do you think it was the young guy put it? I mean, the old guy putting the young guy over? Like, because
No,
AJ
No,
obviously doesn't want to wrestle forever, but
no,
but
no,
actually,
no, no. That is not it. No, that is definitely not it. The fact that no, that is them wanting to have a WrestleMania moment, which I am glad that AJ Styles got one because he didn't get one last year. Because that was whenever he was hurt, right? I'm pretty sure.
I'm
If
pretty
my
sure,
memory,
yeah, that was because he didn't come back till what, May or whenever they did that show in France.
yeah. So like, I am just like, I'm glad AJ got a moment, but this is like him fighting Shane McMahon again. Like, yeah, they're gonna put on a great show, but what is the point? Is it just
yeah.
to get him on the card?
if
Like, I'm happy he's on it, but give him some substance, please.
Well,
to piggy,
he also didn't spontaneously tear his ACL, which Shane McMahon is prone to do, like every McMahon is prone to do.
Yeah.
to piggyback off what DJ was saying a little bit. No, I don't think it was to put a young guy over. If you were going to put a young guy over, you could put somebody like an Austin Theory over. You could put somebody, like a Joe Hendry, who obviously was already put over by Randy Orton.
I was
But
like, we'll get to
somebody,
that.
yeah, but somebody that actually loves this fucking business and has slept, and bled for it. Not
Mhm.
somebody who happened to have a YouTube show and can't go back to Japan. And come
But I
on.
mean, but we can agree, and I don't want to stay too long on this topic because I know we got to get up out of here, but we can agree, and we've all said that Logan Paul has made a commitment to the business. He may not be the full-time performer per se, but he has made somewhat of a commitment to the business.
He hasn't made a
And
commitment to the business. He's made a commitment to getting paid.
Ding 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 ding
I
ding
mean,
ding.
but isn't that a lot of people though?
Not
you can,
necessarily from the genuine wrestlers. Most of the genuine wrestlers that come up, like Casey was saying, they came up from like the indies, worked their hind ends off to get to WWE. They have a love for the business. Yes, they want a paycheck at the end
I
of
got
the
a
day.
question though. In that regard then, because if you are so this, and maybe I'm looking at this from a different perspective and I shouldn't be, but for me, what is Logan Paul doing wrong? I guess is my question.
He's
Because
Logan Paul.
Existing.
I mean that's fine, right? I get that part. I understand the hatred for him as a person. I'm not even saying that I think he's the greatest. I get the controversies. I understand that aspect of it, but and maybe he should take the I can't remember what it's called, WWID like that path. Maybe he should go through
He's
the
not even that good. He doesn't even deserve that.
No. Okay. I will hold off on there. Logan Paul is very athletic. He does do the moves. He does practice. I will give him that. And that's what freaking annoys me the most is that I hate the guy so much that whenever he actually gets in the ring and he actually does, it's good. He does good wrestling. It annoys the ever-loving piss out of me.
And I think that's the thing. Like, I think we all, maybe with the exception of CaseE, we all can agree that he's putting in the work for as much as he can do. Like, I don't know. I feel like he's putting in the work.
Let me put a different spin on it. Let me put a different spin on it. Like this is not what was felt to be the Roman Reigns heat for all those years, the John Cena heat for all those years. It's like they fundamentally through their, because at least with Cena he went through OVW. At least with Roman he went through FCW. There was at least a prerequisite to like, okay, we get it. This is their guy that at the time Vince had seen the collective saw. We get that. It's let's be honest too. Let's also thank the fact that Logan is good. That's his one saving grace in the ring. But it is just one of those things like the fans today, again, they're smarter than the above average bear. They see through it like, okay, this is the company's guy. It's the wrong type of attention. It's like, oh, internet star, this, that, and the other. And I think when you put those two words together, internet star, not wrestling star.
And on the counterpoint of that, like thinking about that, you look at the Miz that came up from like the real world and stuff like that. At least he actually showed like whenever he first started, yeah, he had that heat being like the TV star. However, he got to the point where you actually see he had a love for this business. Right now, I don't see a love of the business from Logan Paul. He has respect for the business. I will give him that. He has respect for it. But again, you put him up against guys that have a genuine love of this, and it just pisses me off. Like just him.
I'm so glad we did this first.
Well,
I'm so glad we did this first.
You brought.
I've got so much to say, and I know I can't because I could go on for hours on this. I really
and maybe we could set it in for like a different topic.
I think we should. I think
a plurality
that could be a topic
issue
in itself.
Yes,
I'm gonna let CaseE give his final point on it, and we'll put a pin in it, and we'll make it a topic for later.
I was just gonna say real quick, you brought up the Miz, and in the beginning, I hated the Miz, despised him. Now he's one of the guys that I love the most. I respect as a worker the most, and especially his mic skills. If I could learn under his learning tree, oh my God, that would be amazing. Just to like teach me, him, The Rock, a bunch of people, right? But I will say, even though I hated him in the beginning, he he went through, Tough Enough. Which I mean, a lot of people kind of shit on Tough Enough at times, but it wasn't easy. You know what I mean? It wasn't just like, a fun little game show. Like they really put them through their paces, and he made it through. Like he did everything. He wasn't just half-assing it. He wasn't just there to just be on TV. That was one of the things, and a little bit of a sidebar, whatever. The one things that I hated about the diva search is I felt like all those girls were just trying to get to Playboy. Like
Mhm.
there were so many that were like, "Oh, I just want to get to Playboy." So you don't love professional wrestling. You don't love WWE. You don't love what we've grown up watching since we were kids. You just want a stepping stone to get to somewhere else.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's when it pisses me off.
I
Yeah.
guess I don't want to. Like I said, I don't want to say too much. I want to get into this Jey Uso Gunther match, but
Well, then stop talking.
well, I'm gonna say that I'm just gonna pin it as a question. I'm just gonna pin it as a question for those watching and those who want to put it in the comments. Feel free as we continue on the show. But if given the opportunity, and it's not to say you don't have to work hard for it, but I'm saying like if you were given the opportunity to do what Logan Paul is doing, now maybe you can make a different, more of a commitment to the business and not as much to your other endeavors, I guess you could say. But would you take that chance? Just leave that in the comments and we'll move on from there. But Jey Uso versus Gunther, World Heavyweight Championship match started out night one. I think we all had a feeling of where this was going to go. And I think for me, when I think about this match, I know some people are not big fans of Jey Uso, but when you look at the audience, they're going crazy for him. But that doesn't make him over enough for whatever reason. I feel like he's a good talker, but that doesn't get him over enough for whatever reason. He only has 5 moves, but that doesn't get him over enough for whatever reason. But for shout out to Gunther for tapping out in this match. I don't think necessarily that was probably the shock of the win for Jay for me. But kind of like we've talked about this before. We felt like Gunther should have held on for a little bit more. Honestly, I'm surprised they didn't have him almost like pass out, and then maybe the fans get back into it, and he kind of like gets himself back going, and Jay gives that one last squeeze because obviously Jay has just delivered a spear and a couple of splashes. So obviously the midsection is worn down by that point for Gunther. I think that's my biggest critique. But to CJ win, and I felt like the story was perfect too because Jay has shown time and time again that yes, he was a tag team guy, yes, he was one of the Usos, but at the same time, when it's time to step up his game, he steps up his game. And he did the same thing with Gunther. Like, he went toe to toe with him, whether it came to chops, whether it came to kicks, whether it came to punches. He went blow for blow with him. And I think it's the same story that they've told with Jay before, but I still think, it ended up working. It was weird to see Gunther go a little more heel in this match. Like I'm talking about a little more typical heel, trying to sneak in the belt shot, which I thought getting the ref out of the way on that one was good, but that was kind of interesting to me. Him going like it almost felt like that's the only thing I didn't like about the booking of Gunther. Somewhat in this feud is I feel like there was times where they made him feel like he had to resort to things that he's never had to resort to. So why would he have to resort to it now? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but Tanner, what was your thoughts on the Jey Uso winning the World Heavyweight Championship?
Keeping it quick, I enjoyed it. Thought it was a good opener. Figured it would open up night one. I was surprised that Jey Uso tapped out Gunther with his own submission move. That surprised the heck out of me. I figured the 3 splashes would have been the ender there, but overall, great match. Way to get things kicked off.
Adam, what you think?
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed the match. I mean, that was the right outcome. Like the way that they were laying that out, and like they're like force not when I say force feeding, I'm just saying like they're spoon feeding that like Jay has to win. If he would have lost this, he would have really lost um, confidence in the fans because he's gone through a lot. The
Yeah.
way that but that was really my only shot at the match was like they really like disemboweled Gunther with that finish. Like to let alone tapping out to his own move, tapping out that quickly. Because I'm just saying, kayfabe. You mean to tell me that Jey Uso would be able to cinch that in on that big bastard? I don't know. To me, and plus any more submission finishes, although it's effective, like sometimes they get a little anticlimactic. Like they didn't do that with Sammy. Sammy was like that to me was a little bit more impactful. But I mean, it was a fun moment. The hugging with Jimmy afterwards, all that stuff. Now, like I was fine with it. It was just one minor thing.
Yeah, I think the crowd going crazy too was what was needed, right? Like him winning, that's what they expected when they initially thought he was going to be the main event anyway. But CaseE, what's your thoughts? Chase.
I'm here. I'm here. Relax. Calm down. I thought it was a good match. I was a little bit surprised that they actually pulled the trigger with Jay, only because I think I'm partially still in the mindset of Vince booking, where those guys don't win, they don't get the heavyweight because he's not a heavyweight, pal. So I think I'm still kind of in that mindset. I need to get out of it, but it's going to take a while. Um, but a great match. And I agree with you guys, and I think we talked about it last night too, or the 2 nights ago. He just I think he tapped out too quickly. There should have been a little bit more of a fight. There should have been something. And one thing, and I brought this up before, that I hate that they don't do is the referees don't check the hands anymore. For like he should have almost passed out, and the ref should have checked the hand. I think that would have been better storytelling rather than just a quick tap out. You know, make Jay really like he went into those final reserves and he clinched that in as hard as he possibly could, to the point where and then that keeps Gunther strong too, where he's like he wasn't gonna tap out. No. If anything, he's passing out. He's I think that would have been better. But either way, he just tapped out too quickly for me.
And I think too, CaseE, it's kind of one of those situations where Gunther's the perfect person to pass out from a submission with how he's been booked, So New Day versus the War Raiders. I don't have much to say. New Day still the titles.
Do you care if I just run through my
next?
Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just going to I'm talking about just run through the whole card, just give my thoughts real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
3:30 in the morning. So, yeah, New Day War Raiders, really dumb. It was like a good match, but New Day winning, didn't really care about it that much. It's whatever. Jade Cargill, Naomi, great job. Jade Cargill gets her first win at Mania. Awesome job. Jacob Fatu, LA Knight, perfect decision. That's what needed to happen. Keep Jacob Fatu looking strong, and builds up the dissension between him and Solo. El Grande Americano versus Rey Fenix after Rey Mysterio got injured. No, they're different. The fact that they still kept the storyline going, and I'm glad Marcano got the win. Fair enough. And then Rey still got his WrestleMania moment. Great. Tiffany versus Charlotte. Thank God Tiffany won. I did not want to see Charlotte Flair win again because, Charlotte Flair wins lol. And then Seth versus Punk versus Roman. Cinema. That's the only word I can describe cinema. It was a great match, great storytelling throughout, and then Paul Heyman's betrayal of CM Punk and then Roman Reigns deciding with Seth Rollins. Holy crap, amazing. Night 2, Io Sky defeating Bianca and Ripley. Predicted that one right off the bat. Figured, they'd get caught up in with each other and that would let Io swoop in and get the win. Awesome job. Drew McIntyre versus Damian Priest. Drew needed this moment. Drew needed the win. And just to have something, Damian did not look weak in this. He put on a great show, and I think things are going to keep going up for Damian. The Fatal 4-Way for the Intercontinental Championship surprised the heck out of me. Dominic pinning Finn Balor to win. I figured Braun Breaker would have speared every last one of them. But you know what? Good on Dominic, and it's going to continue the storyline within the Judgment Day dissension there. Then Randy Orton versus his mystery opponent. Nobody around here was going to be able to guess that it was Joe Hendry that came out. Nobody in around here. I was ahead of everybody, and I had to keep quiet because I wanted to sing along so bad whenever Joe Hendry came out. I remember watching him in WCPW, the Internet Wrestling Show, and seeing him do that and then work his way up to where he is now. He had his moment at the Royal Rumble. He had his moment at WrestleMania. Things are going up for Joe Hendry, and I'm looking forward to the time that he actually goes from TNA into WWE as a full member of the roster. You already know my thoughts on Logan and AJ. You go back to the beginning.
What were your thoughts again? I forgot.
Travesty. So Liv and Raquel versus Lyra Valkyria and her mystery partner. I would have sworn it was going to be Alexa Bliss or something. Becky Lynch making her return and actually announcing that she's coming back in a full-time capacity, I found out. Way to lie to us there, Becky. It surprised the heck out of
You're
me.
welcome.
Especially with what? And then I was surprised that they actually won. If I was going to say, if anything, if you're going to have a heel win, at least I would have had Liv and Raquel retain instead of AJ losing. But I'm not going to digress. And then the main event, Cody Rhodes versus John Cena. Underwhelming. I have had a day to rest on it and think at it. I think that might have been on purpose. Because afterwards in an interview, John Cena literally said, I'm going to destroy wrestling for the fans. He wrestled like that on purpose. And having that moment with Travis Scott's what killed it for me. The fact is, Travis Scott, I freaking hate the dude. I don't like his music. Why is he in this? That annoyed me more than Logan Paul. No, it didn't. I take that back. That is the second worst thing I've seen that night. That's literally all I hear is it's so dumb. So dumb. And overall, though, I thought it was good. I will say this, as far as like the cards go, as far as night one, it was an underwhelming beginning card with a 10 out of 10 main event, and then night two, honestly, great undercard, and then a lackluster main event. I feel like the main event should have been swamped. You would have had the perfect night two.
Thank you.
That is, I feel like that but I'm glad I got to watch, especially with you guys. Like, honestly, getting to watch that live with you guys, I think made my night, getting to be able to, react and stuff with you guys. And I know y'all got some meme worthy stuff out of me. So
If only we had it on record.
I know we need to actually like live stream our reactions to this or something. But Lord, I wish I could stay longer, but work duty calls for me in the morning. So you guys give y'all a full
Duty.
Yeah, but yeah, no, that's my quick rundown. We will have one of these where I get to stay the whole time.
Of course.
Yes.
Appreciate you as
Thanks for having
always.
me on, y'all.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
See
See
you.
you later.
See ya.
All right.
Just
So
just real quick, I would like to give an impression of both nights of the show.
okay.
Wait, okay, just pause real quick. Just pause real quick. Okay, I'm at 3 hours and 29 seconds. Okay, all right. When we get here, then you can hit play. No, how are you ahead of us again? All right, hang on. Just wait a minute.
All right.
Okay, Dominic just almost got pinned.
Okay. I'm at 256.49. Okay, get to that point. Okay, we're at that point. Well, now I'm at 259. What?
Wait a minute, I'm still in commercial.
Hey, I've been saying Cena was the GOAT for a while, but
No,
nobody
we'll get to
nobody
we'll get to
wanted
that point because
nobody
again,
wanted.
'cause I was having an argument with somebody at work today about
Okay.
that main event, like because I think people are like misreading my frustrations with the main event, not the match. The match was fine.
All right, so let's jump into it. Shout out to Win for hanging out with us live right now. But let's jump back into the New Day War Raiders. I don't have much to say about this match, to be honest with y'all.
It was you couldn't follow whatever was going to follow. That was going to fall flat just because of it was following Jey versus Gunther.
Yeah,
there's really nothing to say.
Yeah, I mean there was no biggie running or nothing like that, so nothing really to make this any more than what it was. So there's that. CaseE, you got any thoughts on it, or should we move on to Jade and Naomi?
I still wish Motor City Machine Guns were at WrestleMania because what the hell. But kind of like Adam said, this match it would have been hard to follow Gunther and Jey either way. So it's I still don't think it necessarily should have been on the card. They could have just done that on Raw, but
Well, Win, for the record, if I'm part of the problem, you're also part of the problem. So and from what I heard, from what Cena said, you're the biggest part of the problem. Hey, look, I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it out there, Win. I'm just throwing it out there. Jade and Naomi. For me, I thought this was it was pretty good. I thought it could have been a little smoother. I think it felt a little sloppy at times, but I felt like the big things that happened in the match were really good. I think Naomi got hurt on that little power bomb they did near the end. And I think that might have been Adam, we were talking about why the ref didn't cover there. I think that was Jade checking on Naomi to make sure she was good. But even still, Jade wins this match, which I think, as it should be. And she continues to be a dominant part of the women's division. I'm excited to see how they continue to book her though, because of course she's been out for a while, so and she always seems to get a pretty good pop when she comes out. But Adam, what you think?
I thought that was it was a good match to follow the clunker that had just happened, whatever though. But to your point, saying that could have been a little smoother. That's why I'm glad it didn't go super long, because with Jade, you've been at it a couple of years, whatever. But like even then, she does not need to have a 25-minute match. Like that's not it's not fair to her, because one, being that physically impressive, you don't need her to be we don't need AEW length matches on Dynamite. But that spot that you were talking about, like with me, but I didn't even think about it until you said that, she was probably checking on her, because like to me, it was just a little bit of a hiccup. I'm like, she nails that power bomb perfectly. I needed her to pop right back up and then hit Jaded. Yeah. But by the same token, whatever, like it was just a weird transition right there. But like other than that, it was fine. Right outcome. Good stuff. Good stuff.
CaseE, what you think?
I don't really have anything to add. Let me repeat everything you guys just said.
Hello, Justin.
No, again, like you said, I think it was a good good timing match. Like it didn't go too long. Um, it wasn't I don't think it was a match you're gonna walk away from Mania and be like, oh man, that was match of the night. Definitely not. And it was a little bit clunky at times, and could have been smoother. But I mean, there's a lot of things that go into it. I mean, it's a Mania match. There could have been nerves. There could have been any
Yeah.
number of things.
I I will say this, Casey. It kind of reminded me a little bit of like Jordan Grace and Naomi when they had their match in TNA,
Yeah.
which was a little more smooth. But of course, Jordan Grace has far more experience than Naomi does, so you expect that type of thing. So I guess that's another aspect of it that I
You know
really
what it
got to thinking
needed?
about.
You know what it needed? Alicia Fox.
Alicia Fox.
Next up, we got Jacob Fatu and LA Knight for the United States Championship. Definitely the right call to have Jacob Fatu go over. But this was one of those matches where both guys looked good, right? Both guys did their thing. Both guys got their stuff in. You could just like for a match that was for a mid card title, it just felt like a big match. If you felt like I always talk about with Mania, you want the biggest faces versus the biggest heels. You want the biggest rising star versus the next biggest rising star, face and heel type situation. The guys that work the hardest and, a big debut or something. And this is kind of like how this match felt. Like Jacob Fatu has been probably the guy for this new bloodline, to be honest, obviously overshadowing Solo Sikoa. And I mean, even still, like Solo Sikoa coming out kind of as his hype man felt more natural to me than anything. But then, LA Knight just, doing his thing, and kind of like Casey has said in the past too, LA Knight doesn't really need the title. Jacob Fatu, it's good for him to have it because it's his first title. It continues him being undefeated if they keep that storyline up, and it just continues to show how good he is. And it keeps the new bloodline relevant if they even go with that, and they could even possibly do something with him and Solo, and maybe even help put Solo over. Not necessarily have Solo win, but help put Solo over. And maybe continue to build him, because Solo had a white hot start, but he's kind of fizzled out, unfortunately. So, I mean, Casey, what you think?
It was a good match. I personally, for me, I still wanted to see LA Knight kind of just get uh basically job the whole time, just because it would build up Jacob Fatu as a monster even more, and LA Knight can sell really well and could have sold it. And kind of like, again, like you said, and like I've said in the past, LA Knight doesn't need the title. He's over, just by himself. So him losing wouldn't hurt him at all. But I kind of wanted to see a little bit more of of destruction, uh, courtesy of Jacob Fatu. But again, it was a great match. Then taking nothing away from it.
All right, Adam, what you think?
Well, and because I'm I'm a massive mark for I still want to call him Eli Drake, but of LA Knight. And like he doesn't need the title, but I just feel like they're doing way too much start and stop with him. I mean, he looks like a star. Again, and Jacob Fatu is and is going to be an even bigger star as time goes on. Like clearly with Jacob, that there's going to be a little bit of dissension with him and Solo, and that we're already seeing elements of that. But like to me, that would have almost been like the time for like Solo prematurely comes out to help Jacob, but Jacob's like, nah, fam, I got this. Solo still insists, and he indirectly screws him, and LA hits the BFT or gets moonsault on top of his head and then no sells it. But I don't know, like I'm perfectly happy with the with the finish of him going over and all that stuff. Like I'm also the amateur booker in me. Like, I'm also thinking of down the line because Jake Fatu is going to be a massive babyface whenever they pull that trigger. Not saying it's going to be anytime soon, but like you could continue the slow burn of Jacob's slowly turning face, because that's the other thing too. It was a definitive beating him clean with that moonsault, which I argue is the best in the business. But that's just me. But no, good match. Good for good for Jacob. This only elevates him, in LA, like whatever they decide to do with the next, because he needs something. But yeah, this will be good for Fatu. And again, who the hell was going to stop Meng from coming over the barricade to celebrate with him?
I called it. He just
did.
jumped it.
El Grande Americano versus Ray Phoenix. I thought
Chad
I like
Gable
this because
versus Ray Phoenix.
Chad Gable wasn't even in this match. What are you talking
I
about?
hate you. I'm not going to go. I'm not doing this with you.
I feel like this match. I feel like every time I watch Chad Gable, he just continues to show me why I like Chad Gable or El Grande Americano. They look so similar. They're kind of twins.
You're
They
welcome.
don't look anything alike.
You're
What are you
welcome.
talking about?
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. The video
But-
package I popped.
But to see Ray Phoenix get his, do his thing, we knew Ray Phoenix was going to be impressive, and to see Americano pull out some things that we weren't even expecting from him. The freaking 450 moonsault spring elbow.
He pulled
I don't
a
even know.
ricochet. He
What
pulled a
the-
ricochet.
Right, like
A reverse 450.
what in the like craziness. But I mean, I thought it was good. Of course, they went with the whole metal in the mask type situation, which is fine, and it's interesting because the way they played it out, you kind of forgot about it a little bit, which I thought was also good. So I mean, I'm
but
glad.
again, kayfabe. I don't mean to interject, but just kayfabe though. But like, you have a piece of metal on your face.
Yeah.
Would that not hurt you as well?
Right.
Yeah, I brought that up the other night because I was like, that doesn't make any sense.
Like, again, I understand it's wrestling and all that stuff, but just like, again, if I'm in a fight, I don't know. I've never took a thing of metal and be like, you know what's going to hurt him and me? A piece of steel on my face.
It was like, I distinctly remember this. It was back when it was China going for a low blow, I think on Road Dogg, and he pulls out the like metal plate, and I was like, wouldn't that hurt you too? It's metal.
Yeah, the ultimate. This is the best example I can give. Remember when Goldberg speared Brett, and Brett sold it for like 2 minutes, and then he revealed the sheet underneath him? Like, you still got speared.
Yeah,
that's the thing. You still got speared. But again, I understand. I know we're way too deep in the weeds of it, but CaseE brought that up. I'm like, he's got a point.
Adam, you got any more thoughts on this match?
I honestly, again, it was entertaining. Good. Heel screwy finish and all that. But like, how do you not have Ray go over? Like, I thought the whole time I was expecting somebody to come and be like, he's got the gimmick in his mask. He's got the gimmick in his mask. And then they restarted, and then he, does a fancy schmancy move, and gets the pin. I don't know. Like to me, that was a little underwhelming, but
I thought they would unmask him and that would be the big reveal, Like, I thought it would be like, maybe even like you said, he's got the gimmick in his mask. They unmask him. We're like, oh my gosh, it's Chad Gable.
Oh my God, it actually is Chad Gable. That CaseE Erickson was wrong again. But and I was mad there was no botches. I mean, that's why he got signed, because he's he's Botchamania in real time. I love Ray Phoenix. I love Pentel Zero. I'm just saying. I put the over under at 5.
It was crisp. No botching. CaseE, what you think?
Crisp.
I'm still confused that he didn't botch anything. Like, what the hell? You botch everything.
that made us watch the match more intently. We're like, okay, here we go.
Right?
No, nope. He actually nailed
Was
that.
that
He
was
actually
that
nailed
an AEW thing for him? Because I don't remember him. I don't remember in my past when I've watched him wrestle. I don't remember seeing him botch, but I haven't seen a lot of his AEW stuff, so I can't.
Well, just look up when he snapped his arm falling into a table. That will tell you anything. But I had told CaseE, I'm like, whenever WWE, because they're gonna go to WWE. So I want to say this was like 2 or 3 years ago. I'm like, they are going to be produced. They'll let them do their stuff because that's what's going to get them over. But they're going to be able to produce them, which is why I was so happy with Penta early on. I'm like, man, they're maturing him being on camera a little bit, especially. I'll give credit where credit is due to Chad Gable when he took that first tequila sunrise, Panama sunrise, whatever you want to call it, whatever though. He laid there. He didn't pop right back up and then give him a tequila sunrise. I'm like, no, it's a flipping pile driver. Let them sell it.
Do you think that they'll put Phoenix and Penta together now? Because I thought that was the reason why they didn't have Penta win the title.
I don't know.
Because they've mentioned them being brothers, they've mentioned the connection with them, so I wouldn't be surprised if they went ahead and pulled the trigger on putting them together.
We'll see, like right around Money in the Bank. Because the other thing that they need desperately, I mean, I understand it's a damn near dead division. They need tag teams bad, real bad.
Yeah. CaseE, what do you think?
I mean, first of all, with Ray, I think one of the main things is with WWE, they're slowing him down, right? It's not just, and I kind of noticed this in this match. It wasn't high spot, 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 which is kind of like it was in AEW. They just let them do high spot, high spot, high spot, high spot, high spot. And that's when you botch. That's when, something that you'll hear all the time, especially when you're a wrestler, from vets and from guys that have been in there longer than you and from trainers, is slow down. When you think you're going too slow, slow down.
Slow down more.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what they're having them do, is slow down. When you do a big move, when you have a big spot, don't immediately go to the next thing. Let it breathe. Let the fans register what happened. Let them take it in. You don't have to go spot, because then they're not going to remember the third spot from the 10th spot. You want them to remember the big spots. You want them walking away from the show being like, yo, remember when, he did this, 450 splash, or when he did the suicide dive or whatever? That was awesome. Slow it down. Make the big spots mean something. And I think they did this in this match. I don't know why you guys keep mentioning Chad Gable though, because obviously he didn't make the card. Hopefully he'll make next year.
I hate you so much. I hate you so much.
Hopefully he'll make the card next year, but I just, there's only so many spots on WrestleMania, and he just didn't make it. And you have to showcase a star like Grande El Grande Americano. You can't not put a star like that on the show. So unfortunately for Chad, I mean, there's always next year. There's always next year, and he's a talented young guy. I think he this, just because he didn't make it on WrestleMania this year, he's got a long career ahead of him. So he'll be okay.
I hate you so much. I hate you so much. By the way, real quick, on a scale of 1 to 10, do we want to rate Wade Barrett all weekend?
Is 10 good or is 10 bad? Because
10 would be like just prime JR level announcing. Like this was like negative Tony Schiavone. To me, he had a rough weekend. He said words I've never heard of. Oh, he's got all
All right, moving on to Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair.
Next.
Like I said, glad Tiffany won. I feel like it was honestly a little surprising because I think we expected Charlotte to win, but I think there was this little inkling in the back of my head that maybe Tiffany would win. But as I was watching the match, I was glad that she did win, and retained. And I mean, they can pull the trigger on somebody else later on down the road. But CaseE, what do you think?
We got a long show next.
Well,
Adam?
I was just gonna say, like, I mean, pleasantly surprised, Tiffany won, but Charlotte has lost her aura. I mean,
She really has.
She doesn't have the full. When I say the full stature, I mean, like she used to be athletic but filled out. I don't know, I understand the out of the ring stuff, her and Andrade and all that stuff, but like she's way too skinny now, just in contrast to how she was a couple years ago. But I mean, good for Tiffy. Please get that tooth fixed.
She doesn't even fit in her gear anymore.
No,
and
that
that's
was
not
the most eye-opening thing.
Yeah, that's not like it's not. I'm not body shaming. It's just
Correct.
it's she's got to do something.
Yeah, and I think they kind of missed the boat. I feel like they kind of missed the boat on that whole Triple H-esque return from injury with her.
Right.
And letting showing that she's working hard to get back, showing that she's been around for a while. She missed you guys. She's trying to get back. I think they missed the boat on that one. But anywho's main event of night one: Seth Rollins, CM Punk, Roman Reigns. Of course, CM Punk coming out with Paul Heyman. The entrances here were great. It was fun to see CM Punk and Paul Heyman come out together. That was a lot of fun. I think in the back of our minds, we're like, could it be Seth? But just watching this match, I mean, I know at least me and Adam, we were going crazy this entire match on every little twist and turn that there was, so I mean, it was crazy. There was several good false finishes in this match. Heyman having to make the decision on whether to turn on Roman or turn on Punk, ultimately decides to go with Punk, screws Punk in favor of Roman, then does his little groveling back to Roman. Roman takes the chair and Heyman gets him back, gets him again, which is kind of funny because
and then wouldn't take his hand away. Just
which is kind of funny because I think it's interesting because everybody wants to feel like Paul Heyman is this dastardly two-time and blah blah blah, but I think we forget how bad Heyman was treated at certain points in time within the bloodline.
Man,
nobody's thinking about that, and just even as of kind of recent, right? Roman kind of has that complex within him where it's like, they'll always come back to me type situation. But it's just so funny. Like they were talking about the people who screwed Roman Reigns, and the only one that I remember on that list that was unjustified was probably Seth, right? The rest of them, they had reasons to turn on him at the times that they did.
Oh my God. Sorry, Raw.
They had times to turn on him as, possibly. So Rollins winning this match, I think was another good surprise. I felt like this was one of those matches where honestly it could have went either way with the three guys involved. So CaseE, what do you think?
Gentlemen, he's back. I'm not going to say who, but he's back. There's been a return
For,
on the Raw.
for the record, I am not watching Raw. I don't know if Adam is watching Raw, so I am avoiding spoilers at all costs right now.
I am in a non-disclosed location.
Somebody used to have a day. That's all I'm gonna say.
Mankind.
No, he used to have his own day, and somebody would sing about that day.
Aiden English. Well, no, he was just here earlier.
Very close.
I'm just kidding, Tanner. I'm kidding.
he kind of wasn't great in AEW. Anyway,
The Bucks.
no,
All right.
the Bucks.
By the
did
way,
not
I know
get
who he's
signed.
talking about. I know who he's talking about.
I don't think DJ
Casey,
knows
what's
yet.
your thoughts? I do know, but
I
Casey,
don't think he knows. He was married.
I know. I know.
I don't think you know.
Tony Khan.
Yep, Tony Khan made his debut.
This is great. This is great.
Sorry, what match are we on again?
Main event night 1.
Oh, right. I got distracted.
Have a day.
It was a day. Anyway, don't do that to what? Get off Otis, you dick. Anyway, sorry. No, it was I thought it was a great triple threat match. I think it was kind of booked the way we expected it to be and the way that it needed to be. I like that, Paul kind of, first screwed, CM Punk, and then you think he's going back with Roman, and then screws Roman over, and as we kind of predicted, he sides with Seth Rollins, and I'm very excited to see how that goes, like how they book that into the future. But yeah, I thought it was a good main event. Yeah.
Alrighty.
Guys, do you know who made their return yet? Do you know?
Elias.
Adam, did you give your thoughts on the match? I can't remember.
I mean, because I don't want to bog it down. It was perfect. A rare time because I'm not a fan of the oversaturated of multi-man matches, but this was perfect. Everybody was involved. It wasn't this guy's out of the ring for umpteen minutes and then randomly comes back to the ring. Like there was constant movement. Everybody was involved. It was perfect. Because I am a Punk guy, but I was more happy for Punk than anything else that it closed the show. It should have closed the whole show, period. It should have been night 2, but we'll get there.
Alrighty, Women's World Championship match, triple threat. Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, and Io Sky. This match was crazy. This match felt like it should have been the main event, but this match was crazy. Great way to start night 2. Kind of like we talked about before, the false finishes were really good in this one. The false finishes were really good, to the point where you felt like certain people were going to win. And this was another one of those matches, similar to the main event of night 1, where you really didn't know which way it was going to go. Rhea could win it back because she's really over. Bianca could win it back because could win because she's over too, and so is Io Sky. And of course, Io Sky just won the title. So do you really expect her to relinquish it that quick? Her coming in with I think it was the moonsault to break up the pin and ultimately get the pin at the end. Excellent. I think it's funny, Io Sky, I never really think of Io Sky in these conversations, but I feel like, she always finds a way to be in them. So I was really impressed by the opening contest of night 2. Casey, what do you think?
She's on my TV right now, Io Sky, the champ. But y'all aren't watching Raw. Fake wrestling fans. Anyway, yeah, I thought it was a good match. I don't necessarily think I would put it as the main event. Maybe semi-main, but either way, it was I think it was a good match to open night 2. Because you have to have that match to get people into the show, especially for a 2-night Mania where people are already going to be tired. They're already going to be exhausted. Um, and a little bit of a sidebar to that. I saw somebody post about how never give Vegas another WrestleMania because the crowd was dead. And somebody commented that was actually there, and they were like, "Yeah, we were dead, but it was because like you have." you know NXT, the NXT show. You have WrestleCon. You have Access. You have the Hall of Fame. There's so much in that one weekend, and add on top of that the 2 nights of WrestleMania. y- any city is going to be dead by night two. It's kind of the nature of the beast when you have so much in one weekend. And I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad thing. I love WrestleMania weekend. I love, when I'm able to go to like WrestleCon, to go to Access, to go to, the NXT shows. If I'm able to go to Mania, it's awesome. But it is a lot. Which is one of the reasons, and I know we've kind of beat this like a dead horse, that either being for or against 2 night WrestleManias. Um, but yeah, like I think this was a good match to start, night two, to kind of get a little bit of energy into the crowd.
Okay. Adam, did you give your thoughts yet?
No, I did enjoy that as the opener. Again, like there wasn't enough full juice for that to close the show. Like that had to be the opener. And I would like to go to WrestleCon and all that stuff if somebody would invite me. But
I invited
that's
you
beside the point.
last year. I invited you last year, and you ain't come.
You were talking to the wall. You were
I,
talking to the wall.
I mean,
And by the way, I'm
DJ went to
for one.
WrestleMania Access with me and WrestleCon.
I wasn't invited to something else, but we'll save that for another time too. But yeah, but I do know that he did watch one of y'all's watched a WrestleMania behind a giant pole. So,
Listen,
but
at least I was there.
I will say, screw you. I will say that I am pro WrestleMania only being one night. Just and I know Tanner had thoughts on that too, of saying like of everybody getting on the card and all that stuff. I get it. It's just so much.
Well,
it's so much.
and really quick, I know Tanner's not here, but to kind of, he was talking about how, who do you cut? What matches do you cut? That's a job for the booker. That's a job for, the promoter. And you have to have thick skin in that position. You have to be able to cut people. You have to be like, hey, sorry, I know you worked your ass off, but we got to have this match on the card. You didn't make it. Sorry.
Sorry,
You know.
Logan Paul, you're going to be the only match tonight.
You all gave your thoughts on the first match of night two, right?
Yeah. And
Okay, cool.
and CaseE not inviting me to shit.
The Sin
The what?
Sin
step out of the
City
car, sir?
Street fight between Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre. Yeah, I felt like it was good to see.
Played to the ring by Slayer, aka Just Kerry King.
I feel like this match was good, physical. The spot that Priest took through the table was really good.
Oof.
And it's one of those matches where both guys looked good, both guys looked tough, both guys looked like they didn't want to quit. But Drew ultimately gets the win with the Claymore to Priest in the corner with the chair wrapped around his head. Good stuff. Very enjoyable. I had a lot of fun with it. Casey, what's your thoughts on this one?
What kind of match was this again?
A strange, a hash slinging slash slinging.
I thought this was a great match. You know, they they killed each other. I'm kind of enjoying certain fans on the social medias being very upset that Damian Priest didn't win, but it's,
Why? Why?
I mean, but Drew deserved it. Come on now. Uh, it, honestly, it could have gone either way, and I would have been happy. But Drew definitely deserved it, and it was a hell of a match.
Yeah, just like what part of the booking gave you any confidence that they were going to put Priest over? That's all I would ask those people. I would have been
And
fine if Priest won, but like, what part of the booking made you think that he was going to go over?
and also, I still have the question of why are you wearing your wrestling gear for a street fight?
Seriously,
What the fuck?
you bring your tights, your boots, and we'll settle this last once and for all. So yes, I did enjoy the shun
All right. Fatal 4-Way for the
Step out of the
Intercontinental
car, sir.
Championship. For me,
It should have been Penta.
Instead of bad.
I feel like this was good because it was another one of those matches where I came into it not knowing who was going to win. Like I came into it not really understanding who had the advantage. Like I felt like Braun could retain, but at the same time, there was a lot of me that would have been completely happy with Finn winning, and I was completely shocked that Dom won. But I knew Penta was going to win, and he didn't. So I feel like
We can't.
This match similar to the opening match of night 2. It had plenty of good little finishes, false finishes where you were like, oh man, like, that really could have ended it because of that mystery of who could possibly win. But having Dom win was quite the surprise. And, the reaction that he got from winning this match was also quite surprising too. So, but very good. Love this match. Casey, what did you think of the Intercontinental Championship match?
It should have been Penta.
It should have been Braun. Come on.
Those are my thoughts.
Okay.
No, it was a great match.
It was, but and also like we have just I am going to be that guy. We have destroyed psychology. I will just say that this man pulls a fast one. Just like in freaking the main event, like when did the heels become the baby faces and the people that are trying to do things the right way, when did they become the heels? I'll tell you
Also,
this, Eddie would have not approved.
okay, listen, Dominic needs to stop doing the 619. I understand that his uncle did it, but he is too tall to do the 619. Do the frog splash like your dad.
He's way too tall. He is way too tall. It's like he has to move the ropes out of the way to make it through the middle.
Randy Orton, Joe Hinch.
For me, it's like when Ray does it, he hits them with his shins. When Dominic does it, he hits them with his thighs.
And then when Edge does it, it takes him 2 weeks to actually make a full rotation.
Randy Orton and his open challenge, who ended up being Joe Hendry. Quite the surprise for Joe Hendry to show up. I thought it was awesome to see the TNA World Champion on WrestleMania of
Shout
all
out to
shows.
Tanner for not overreacting too quickly.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
had to hold that in for so long.
But to see Joe Hendry kind of get some good chances in this match, and Orton put him over at the end, and Orton kind of did his thing, and just the ending with Joe Hendry, hyping the crowd up and hitting his signature pose, and the tight shot into the RKO was just perfect and hilarious. This was great.
Hilarious.
But yeah, I thought it was really good, very well executed. Adam, what you think?
Oh, it was the perfect feel good spot, because I'm like, because we were tossing around ideas. I still, call me crazy, because they announced on, I think it was Saturday, that WWE purchased AAA, or as we affectionately call it. But I still say that Riddle would have been fun. RK Bro in Vegas at Mania, because Riddle was stumbling around the casinos barefoot. I thought that there was a good possibility, but great surprise. You knew Randy was going to go over. It was just a matter of how much were they going to give him. And yes, like we all collectively howled with laughter when they did the reverse Okada camera zoom right into his face, and then RKO out of nowhere. But no, this was great. This was great.
All right, Casey, what you think?
I think this was just kind of that feel good match, the feel good moment of WrestleMania, because that entire arena, including us, popped, exploded, to the point where I think Orton was even like, oh shit, like
This boy
this
over.
guy, this boy over. Okay, I'm still got to kill him, but he over. And then,
If he only knew.
whoever booked the spot with him doing the turn and then automatically coming in with the RKO, give him a raise immediately, because that was perfect. Yeah, great match. I hope they continue to do more with Joe Hendry, and hopefully sooner than later he actually gets, I know he's signed to TNA, but hopefully he's in WWE eventually.
Yeah. Okay. Next up we had Logan Paul versus AJ Styles. I think we pretty much already covered this one.
Yeah, we can pass.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, I hated to break it to Tanner. I'm like, dude, you know damn well AJ Styles is not going over. I'm sorry, man. We just got reintroduced again. Come on, you know that this was gonna be LP all the way.
All right, next up we got, which seems outdated now, but Lyra Valkyria and Becky Lynch versus Liv Morgan and Rackle.
I'm sorry, what?
Nothing.
I'm sorry, what?
Nothing.
Okay.
I
heard Lyra.
Hey, did you guys watch Raw yet? Did you watch Raw? Did you see what happened?
See that street fight?
The street fight.
So it was, of course, supposed to be Lyra and Bailey, but it ended up being Lyra and Becky, which was a pleasant. I think people expected other people besides Becky, but Becky lied to us and told us she was never coming back, and ironically enough, she came back for this moment. But I mean, I thought it was pretty good. I felt like a lot of people feel like Becky was a little sloppy, but she's been out for a while, so Not necessarily surprising.
I mean, having a kid does that to you. So
Yeah, so there's that. But yeah, Lyra and Becky end up winning the titles, and that's about it. CaseE, what's your thoughts?
Well, Becky's gonna be back for a while. Oh wait, I forgot you guys aren't watching Raw. Anyway, I wish you guys were watching Raw because I want to spoil everything.
would you shut up?
It's the Raw after WrestleMania. You're supposed to call off work. What's wrong with you? God. Anyway, it was a match. I don't know. I don't see the point of writing Bailey off with being attacked. I get that some people say that Becky's a bigger star. I think they're about the same, in my opinion. But I don't think you needed to write off Bailey to do this. It didn't make sense to me. I don't know, but I mean, it was a good match, and they weren't gonna have a long title run. I mean, they're still champions now. They didn't lose on. You guys need to be watching Raw. I'm just saying.
Hey, did they lose the titles tonight?
They definitely didn't lose the titles, and Becky did not turn heel. That didn't happen. So, just so you guys know, that didn't happen.
I feel like you're trying to tell us something.
Also, Rusev did not return.
Okay, just thank God for that.
Yeah. Okay. Also, Io Sky is not in a title versus title match with this other.
Okay.
I don't. Anyway.
Okay. That's good.
Well,
Also,
I feel
Sting
like
didn't return.
I feel like at this point, I don't even need to watch it. I think I know everything I need to know.
Just answer me this though: did the Shockmaster return?
He did. He
Okay.
went. He came through the wall.
To the window.
All right. So, John Cena, Cody Rhodes, main event. Adam, give your thoughts first.
Okay. The match in and of itself was fine. There was nothing wrong with it. It was exactly kind of what I expected, that, Cena not doing the Cena-esque things that we've seen over the years. He was being a heel. This is just my question. If you knew you did not have The Rock for WrestleMania, why did you have him initiate the turn? My thing is, you could have still had Cena turn and just say, I had enough of y'all, but this, that, and the blah, 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 and then bring in The Rock. Because I throughout the day, from various segments I was watching, of like casual fans, like people that had been following it for a long time, but it was just like, it was so underwhelming. Like, why? I want to know why The Rock wasn't there. I'm like, well, we know why The Rock's not there, movie scheduling and all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. And plus, there wasn't a lot of juice to the build. Like, there was a couple of promos, and that was pretty much it. Like, that's why leading into it, I was telling you guys, like, I think Cena and Cody need to be night one. There's more juice to the Punk, Seth, and Roman story. Yeah. I don't know. The match in and of itself was fine, but it was almost, because I keep hearing like, oh, that was intentional and all that stuff. I'm like, no, like what Cena was doing is not the problem. It was just the involvement of Travis Scott, and that was it. I'm not saying you have to have the overbooking of last year. No one's ever topping that in terms of like cackling, high pitch, oh my God, Taker, oh my God, Cena. Oh, but last year was amazing. So I'm not suggesting that. but we had Travis Scott with the oversized bad hardcore belt, and it took him 9 years to get to the ring. So I don't know. Like if you knew you didn't have The Rock, why make this the initiation, and then reveal that The Rock was pulling the strings on? Like, I don't know. I'm probably overthinking it. Everyone's saying it's like the worst Mania main event. I'm not going that route. That's nonsense. There have been, I can name you 3 or 4 different Mania main events and main event cards that are way worse than that situation. So Mania 9
was one of the best. I know.
No, that's it. Everybody out there, WrestleMania 9 is bad.
It's
It's
amazing.
bad. No, example. Oh my God, Bret Hart and Yokozuna was in the main event. Who has the belt? Hulk Hogan.
wait. Yokozuna wins the WWF Championship and then challenges Hogan.
Immediately. That doesn't work for me, brother. By the way, it also has the worst match with the best booking ever, and that's Doink versus Crush. No, but anyway, no, it seemed to be counterproductive because like this was going to be the outcome, and you had to have people leave with that. Like they had to know that it was going to be underwhelming. You had to like why not do that Saturday? Because then the rationale for people people are getting today, to me, would make more sense. You get nothing. You're like, I'm gonna ruin wrestling and this, that, and the other. I'm like, okay, just do that night one. Just do that night one. There was so much juice and the afterbirth, if you will, with Seth, Roman, and Punk. Like because you had a good split of, oh my God, that was amazing. Crap, I wanted Punk to win, or crap, I wanted Rob to, whatever. This was so anticlimactic. And plus, I think they made Cody look like a tool.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Cody deserved better, damn it.
Casey, what do you think?
Son of a plumber.
That son of a plumber. That grand son of a plumber. I've seen all of the fans complaining, and first of all, going back, I personally don't understand why The Rock needed to be involved to begin with. Right? I know he's part owner now, technically, whatever, and he's gonna get himself over whenever he possibly can, because it's The Rock, But Cena didn't need The Rock involved. Cena turning in itself is a holy shit moment. You did not need The Rock. You definitely didn't need Travis Scott at all, because that added nothing except for a burst eardrum for Cody Rhodes. It doesn't make sense. And then again, like you said, if you knew you weren't gonna have The Rock for Mania, why do it to begin? Why have him involved? Why? There's no point. And why have him pulling strings? You could just as easily just have Cena be like, I'm done with you fans. You've been shitting on me for 15, 20 years. Screw you. I'm going to ruin the business for you. I'm going to ruin professional wrestling for you because you've ruined the past, 15, 20 years of my life when I was just trying to entertain you. That would have been enough. That would have been enough. You did not need The Rock. And I also think that kind of ruined a little bit of the main event, because I think there was that. I think obviously we knew he wasn't going to be there because I believe he was in Hawaii, whatever. But
That would be correct.
I think there was that like suspense of like, oh, is the Rock's music gonna hit? Is he gonna come out? Is he gonna come out? And then he never comes out, so you're kind of like, oh, what was the point? But as for the match, I didn't think the match was bad at all. I thought it was a good match. A lot of people are complaining, oh, it was boring, it was slow, blah, blah, blah. That was the fucking point. That was the point. He said he is going to ruin professional wrestling for you. You're not going to get the Cena, the happy, colorful Cena. You're not going to get the positive Cena. You got heel Cena, who does the exact opposite of what he would have done. He's not going to do the big moves. He's not going to do the flashy stuff. He's going to be a heel. That's what he was. He was a heel. I thought storytelling wise and booking wise, it was great. Again, I don't think The Rock needed to be involved in the storyline at all. And certainly Travis Scott did not need to be involved.
Yeah.
Could they have booked Cody a little bit better? Yes. But
Yeah.
still, I wouldn't say this was anywhere near the worst WrestleMania main event of all time. Nowhere near.
I think for me, I kind of agree with y'all. I feel like for me,
Well, I mean, we're right, so.
I feel like The Rock's presence at Chamber, like in terms of the third slash and the Cena doing, Cena's just complete non-expressive face, the drop of the face, all of that into a low blow, and even having those two stand tall at the end of that show, I think from that perspective, I feel like The Rock's presence was warranted. Needed.
Well, this is why you don't book shows.
Needed. I don't think it was needed. For the simple fact of it left more questions than answers having The Rock involved, because why did Cena align with The Rock specifically as opposed to doing it on his own, which he won the match on his own anyway for the most part. I mean, yeah, he might have won it with Travis Scott to a certain degree. But I mean, realistically, he won the match on his own. He did this run on his own. He cut his promos on his own. The Rock never showed back up after Chamber, and
They
I
didn't
guess
mention him again till Friday.
yeah, that was the other part too. Like, I'm like, there was no mention of The Rock at all. It just makes you wonder, like, what was the point of having The Rock involved to begin with? Kind of like you said at the beginning, Adam, is, if The Rock wasn't going to be at Mania, why even have him involved? And I think, I don't feel like The Rock is necessarily the problem per se. I think sometimes WWE's reliance on The Rock can be a problem. I don't think The Rock is the problem in terms of him wanting to be around and wanting to be a part of stuff, but he is busy, and I can understand that. But like, I think there has to be, like, this type of stuff has to be better thought out, because kind of like CaseE was saying before, like, I didn't think the match was that bad. I can understand the logic of Cena giving you absolutely nothing, whether it be from his Titantron to, like we said, his expressions throughout this entire thing, throughout the entire match. He slowed it down, which people hate.
Even though they cheered the shit out of him.
Right. He did kind of he did his whole 5 moves type situation, but at the same time, like, he slowed everything down. Like, the stuff that people usually cheer, which I know they did in this situation, but the stuff that people usually go crazy for, he did it at a slower pace just to frustrate people. And I think that part of it was, excellently done. I think I have no problem, and maybe I'm in the minority here, and I'm sure I am, but I have no problem with Travis Scott being involved. My problem, especially considering he was involved in Elimination Chamber, I have no issue with him being involved. My issue is that he was the point, right? My issue was that he was the quote unquote big moment of this match, was him coming out and all of that. Now, kind of like I said before, I feel like Cody getting his lick back, all of that makes sense to me, right? That's That's storytelling 101. Travis Scott did, kind of shot on you a little bit, or, you can say whether he meant to do it or not, but regardless, he hurt you in some sort of way, right? He had you come out with a black eye on Monday Night Raw the next night or 2 nights from then, and show the scars of what happened to you. For Cody to get his lick back on Travis Scott, I think is fine. But I think the problem was we were expecting a little more. And I think that's the biggest issue with this match. And especially, not to compare it, but I think we have no choice but to compare it. You're comparing it to night one, and every little bit of that story that was kind of the where the loose ends were either tied up or it made you think, what's going to happen next? And also at the same time, going back to 40 and understanding how big that main event was, right? How exciting that main event was, how you were left feeling after that main event. And I think having Travis Scott be the big moment of the show just wasn't enough. But I was a little surprised too. And I don't know if it's just like The Rock or the lack thereof, but I was surprised. Cena went through all of this whole, and maybe it was like how it was produced, but Cena went through this whole thing of when he attacked Cody to hold the belt differently, and he didn't after this match. I don't know if it was just the emotion of winning the 17th time, because of course he broke a little bit on the way back up the ramp. He was smiling, because they were chanting, I think, "Thank you, Cena" or something at him, right? Like, I don't know, and not to say that it just makes me wonder, did he get wrapped up in the emotions himself because this was his first win as a heel? I don't know. I mean, like I said, I don't think the match was necessarily as underwhelming as people thought it was. I thought it was underwhelming, but everything is underwhelming if you're going to compare it to last year. Everything is underwhelming if you're going to compare it to night one.
Sure.
When we're talking
but I think
main event versus main event is what I'm saying. Like, kind of like you had said earlier, Adam. Like, if you flip the main events, you're not having this discussion.
Yeah, and again, because that was the other thing going into this week, is that there wasn't a lot of talk about the show. It was Nick Khan and Paul taking the pot shots at AEW, and Paul taking an indirect pot shots at the fans. But by the same token, in this day and age, when I say everybody knows everything, we know more than we did in the early 2000s and beyond. But it was just the presentation of this is that that was the first thing I went to. Like, okay, like, obviously, because that was the whole thing. Like, it legit was a scheduling thing because he's shooting a movie and blah blah blah. And we'll see how this plays out. Come SummerSlam, we may long forget this. And like, oh, I guess it really wasn't that big of a deal. But like, just in a vacuum, in this presentation, if you knew you didn't have him, then there was no point of having him being the reveal. John could have just done this on his own. You could have done the same thing, but have it play out in a more timely manner. Because as soon as you have The Rock be involved, whether he should have been involved or he should not have been, I'm with CaseE. I don't think you needed him in this regard, unless the only other thing I can think of is kind of playing with the emotions of people. Like, you guys were so anti me when it was actually going to be me and Roman that you did everything under the sun. You had all those dislikes on YouTube. You had all the comments on Twitter and Instagram and blah, 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 blah. I'm going to deliberately not be there and then have you complain again that I wasn't. So, hey, do you want me there or do you not want me there? Which is it? I could see all that, but it's just how this plays out. Cody got screwed by Travis Scott.
That's true.
Like,
And I think
I
the
don't know.
other thing of it too, it's kind of ironic.
Don't you think?
It's kind of ironic because once again, Cena creating a polarizing moment. I think is the other funny part of this whole thing is Cena creating another polarizing moment, which I find a little funny.
But it was almost a less offensive gobbledygooker moment.
Mm-hmm.
Who's in the egg? Oh, it's a mascot.
Yeah. Well, I guess we should get up out of here. Any final thoughts, anyone? Except CaseE, because you don't get final thoughts.
Hey.
That was his final thought. Good night, everybody.
All right, y'all. Appreciate y'all for coming by. As always, definitely hope you guys enjoyed. I know
I'm
Win
not
and
sure
Luis
what
were
to do
hanging out
with
with
my
us live,
hands.
so definitely appreciate y'all for coming through and hanging out with us. But as always, we'll see you guys on the next episode of the Instant Classic Wrestling Podcast, and the podcast that is always, and I mean always, an instant classic.